Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to With the Heathers podcast.
Woo woo.
Podcast with the Heathers. We've had a great day, a lot going on, but we managed to get down to our studio to film episode 13 of our pod.
Look at us.
Yep, and today we're talking about breakups.
Oh.
Yeah, what's the first thing you think when you think breakups?
Chipotle.
No, well, we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there. We are going to tell the story about that one time that we broke up because many people hear our story and they, think it's all perfect and that we never fought or we never were challenged with each other. And we did actually break up after dating for a while, but we'll get there in a second.
You asked me, what do I think of? That's what I think of.
Yeah, I know, but a lot of people don't like breakups, obviously. It's
Yeah, I think breakups suck.
Yeah, there's no way around it. Whether you've been together with somebody a long time or it's just a short amount of time, anytime there's a separation, just severing of the relationship, I think it just brings out the worst in people.
Well, I think it's painful. It's awkward. It's super awkward.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, especially if you're dating someone and you do life with them on like a regular basis outside of just like being with them. It's so awkward. Like you have to see them in those places, whether that's work or school or church or whatever. Your friend group, if you guys have the same friend group, maybe you were friends before and then you decided to date after like years of dating and then you break up and it's like, what do we do? What happens to our friendship? What happens to our friend group? It's just awkward. It just
changes the way you think about it. I remember a Friends episode where Chandler's trying to tell Joey about the girl he's dating, his roommate, and he's like, you can't date your roommate because if you break up with her, you're going to be around her all the time. And he's like, I don't understand. And he goes, let's say you go to the grocery store and you want to go get food, but you keep running into her everywhere you go. And he's like, so wait, the grocery store's in my house? Or like, but it is uncomfortable. Obviously, as pastors, we work with couples a lot. Yeah. We have our own relational history that, we don't go too far into ever now that we're here. But we do talk to a lot of people that break up or make up and they are working close together. Work relationships are tough.
Oof, I can't, yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to date somebody you're working with, you better have a good understanding what you're getting yourself into.
That's 5 days a week of seeing that person.
Well, yeah, if it's a full-time job, I mean, my God. Yeah, I just can get very uncomfortable. So we're talking a little bit about breakups today. We've all probably got a traumatic breakup experience, a traumatic breakup story. Feel free to leave a comment in this video. Tell us maybe one of yours if you want to get it out there in public.
If you need to be freed.
Yeah, but today we're going to talk about how we broke up. And this is not to be confused with the infamous cruise story, which we will tell the cruise story another time. Make sure you subscribe to our channels if you want to get that scoop.
Yeah, that was a different story.
Yeah, this is not to be confused with the cruise story. This is the breakup story. So Randy and I met in church, and she grew up in the church that I got saved at. And, we were friends probably for a couple months. When we had first met, it'd probably been about 2 or 3 months before.
Yeah, it was probably like 2 months.
Well, you were in love with me the whole time.
Get the heck out of here,
Well,
dude.
I think you were.
No.
So it was about 2 months, 3 months getting to know each other, and then we started formally dating. And, I'm new Christian.
Technically, I don't think we formally dated.
Really?
I think we were like in a serious space of talking, but you had not asked me to be your girlfriend.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. I mean, what is the deal with talking then? Like, why do we use that term? We're talking.
Because we're not sure exactly if we like want to be together long term or if we like even want the general public in our own circle to know that we're like off the market or actually committed to somebody. But we have this understanding that if this goes well, we will get together. You know what I'm saying?
See, the problem I have when people say we're talking, besides just the fact you don't want to commit, the problem I have with that is how many other people are you talking to?
Well, I think that's the point of talking is we're talking and maybe we're not publicly saying we're together yet, but we both have an understanding like we're not talking to other people. We're just talking to each other.
Yeah, see, I don't know if that's clear all the time, that this is an exclusive talk. Sometimes you're talking to a lot of guys
or a lot of girls
and the person on the other end of talking thinks like they're the only one.
Ooh, that's always rough.
Yeah, and I think the Christian term for dating, courting, that really doesn't help too much either. I think it confuses people. I think I have no problem telling people if you're a Christian, you should be able to date and you want to, be wise with who you date. But obviously the settings you date in and the people that you choose to date play a lot in the factor how the relationship will go.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah. So we were talking, okay? We were both in church. We both love Jesus. We're serving. Yeah. You were on the worship team. I was service coordinator. Yeah, not a lot of people know that.
See, listen. Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
I was going to say, where you at? The worship leader likes the service coordinator?
Yeah, like that was...
A match made in the production room, you know? Yeah, so
I'm filling up my batteries and stuff.
Yeah, chill out, girl. So that's right. So I was the service coordinator at our church, which means like I would check the worship team batteries, and it was time for the worship team to go on stage. I would be the one that say, "Hey, worship team, we need to come together, get on stage." And so I'd always go find Randy or somewhere. She'd be like, Randy, it's time to come up, you know? And when you like somebody, you know how your throat gets all nervous. Randy, you know? And we were just around each other every week in church. We had hung out in our friend group. You know, all our friends were mutual friends, and it was cool just to kind of develop something. And then I remember our first kiss, New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember you were at Jonathan and Irma's house, or I was at Jonathan and Irma's house, and then you came by with your friend.
I was going to go to my friend's New Year's Eve party.
Yeah, and you had come to see me.
Before, because we weren't going to see each other at midnight.
Yeah, and you know, we were both like hopeless romantics anyways. And
yes.
So yeah, you came to see me, and I remember we gave each other hugs, and you were like, all right, have a good night. We didn't kiss.
I will regret this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and then I regret it. I mean, I should have kissed you, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And then you drove away, and then you stopped, got out of the car, and ran back slow motion.
See, that shouldn't have been me, though.
Well, it was, okay? We can't relive it. So... You were the one, okay? Call it like it is. Yeah, I know it shouldn't have been you, but you did it. So you run back and you're like, Happy New Year. And then we kissed. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And then for about 2 months, we were dating. Like, I think after our first kiss, that was kind of like, oh, wow, okay, we're dating. If I never officially asked you to be my girlfriend.
I will say this. We started talking like right after my birthday, which is the beginning of October, and we didn't kiss till January 1st.
Oof.
It's doable. Just saying, we were hanging out with each other all the time.
It is possible to be interested in somebody without sleeping with them or kissing them. You know,
and I think that it takes...
You don't always have to go there.
Right. I saw something on TikTok too, and it was like this girl breaking down like the complexities of Christian dating and how everybody just looks at it like it's so bizarre because we don't have sex before we get married, or I say we very loosely. People that intend to do it the God's way. Do. Yeah, that tend to do really like this scriptural ways to not have sex before you get married, and really even just like the idea of kissing and all that stuff like that. It's not off limits, but it is meant to be something that comes at a certain point in a relationship. Do you know what I mean? And she was just saying like, there is this reality that when all that stuff isn't involved, you're obligated to look at the person for who they are. Yeah. Not by the hormones that unleash a ravishing tornado because that's involved.
Well, that's my thing. I think a lot of times when you are prematurely sleeping with somebody, you are more so being dictated by the consequences of sex than you are actually getting to know the person. And when you commit to date somebody without the physical stuff, without, you know, I think holding hands, kissing is fine. I'm not like one of those guys like, don't put your lips on her until you're married. But I think like, know the limit, bro. Like nothing beyond kissing. You know, if you take all that out, like you said, you're forced to see the person for who they are.
Yeah, and actually ask yourself, do I like them if none of this is included? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it just makes me think, dude, of that whole package message that I did years and years ago that will literally never leave me. And it's the idea, like, as in school, when you grow up, and you've heard this 1,000 times, but like when you grow up and you get sent home during picture day, you get sent home with this huge pack of photos, and the honorable thing to do would be to fill out a card that says what pictures you would like to keep and pay for, and then the rest of them you decide to send back to the school and you return them because you're not paying the price for the full package. So I've related that to dating and just getting to know somebody at all. Sometimes we just give more than they've paid for in the package. And so when you and I were talking, it was not a part of your package deal to be kissed by me. Yeah. Like, sorry, just wasn't a part of it. And some people don't think that's a big deal. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I'll kiss whoever. Well, that's fine for you. But for me, it was like, this is something that for me, in the role that I was in what I was doing in my local church, how I was in relationship with Jesus, I felt like it was a privilege to kiss me. You weren't just I had never brought a boyfriend home. I had never talked to
know
other
your worth.
guys.
Like, not everyone should have access to you.
Yeah. Because you didn't pay the price. The price is you don't get access to other women because you just have me. So until you're willing to pay that cost, you don't get part of that package. And so forth goes when we started dating. Then we were kissing and hanging out with each other, just you and I, whatever. But it wasn't a part of your package to sleep over my house or get all these other things. So,
we weren't even in the same room with the door closed.
Oh my gosh.
It was
my mom was
off
so strict.
Limit. Yeah, no way can we even be there with the door closed.
Yeah. And so it wasn't a part of your package. And then we got engaged and you didn't get access to more of me physically, but you got access to more of me mentally and emotionally. I told you more of what vision I had for my life, the things that had actually happened to me growing up. Like I started to share with you my childhood. I started to share with you things that to me, not everybody gets access to, but because you didn't just pay the price of this ring, you also paid the price of like the sacrifice that from now till the end of our life, it's you and I.
Yeah.
And so then we got married and you got the full package, baby. You got all you want.
Yeah, okay. So go back. So we had our first kiss New Year's Eve. We're dating all through January. And then I remember February coming. And I distinctly remember Valentine's Day. I remember kissing you and having a moment where I was like, this just doesn't feel right. And I think people are shocked to hear that sometimes, that like two people that God wants to be together, there definitely can be the right people, but the wrong season. It is possible to love somebody where they're currently at, but probably not healthy to date them for where they're currently at.
Oof.
And I think,
say that again.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with loving somebody for where they're at, but it does get dysfunctional when you start dating somebody when they're not in the place they should be. Yeah. And for me, I definitely wasn't at a full place to grasp what a relationship even was. Like, you're the first girl I was dating as a Christian now, as a follower of Jesus. And so I've got all these emotions, all these things going on in my head. And yeah, just I remember kissing you and saying goodnight to you, and then just the drive home being like freaked out, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm supposed to be in this relationship. Well,
too, I think in Christian dating, there's a lot of weight. It's like, are you going to marry her or not?
Yeah.
And if you're not, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
So there's all that like, oh my God, I just made out with her. That was the first time we like made out or like whatever the heck that means now. And yeah, it was like, I think there was like a seriousness to like, okay, there's more. Yeah.
What does this look like long term? And just thinking through all those things. And so, yeah, I talked to a friend, I think, about it, and I maybe asked around like the office at church and just kind of got some feedback. And
there were a few people that said that we shouldn't be together.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that didn't think we should be together. I think Randy dating an ex-drug addict and, raver, and I was very promiscuous before getting saved. Like, I think a lot of people are looking at her like, this isn't a good dude. Yeah. Like, this is not the good guy you want to be with. And, I think my life obviously had been changed, but I hadn't fully embraced the change that was happening in me now. And yeah, he changed me from addiction and, going out and sleeping around and stuff. But like, there was things he was asking me to change that I was struggling with.
Like what?
Well, just like that idea of like maturity and becoming a man of God for a woman. I was like, oh, I got a little girlfriend now. And it was like the same kind of vibe I was feeling in my heart than before. And I'm like, it's just immature. You know what I mean? And so anyways, before we get to the story, I just have to make sure I lay it all out so you don't bash me during this story. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so I told Randy, this is our breakup story. I told Randy we need to talk. And anytime you get that text or somebody says we need to talk, even if I'm not like in a relationship, like my wife is my wife, obviously, but like if somebody else texts me, we need to talk, my brain still goes like, about what? What do we do? What is going on?
Gosh.
Like,
pick up the phone and call me, man.
And dude, I imagine this is how people feel when we ask them if they want to hang out. Yeah. Like if you're a pastor listening to this, like tell people why you're meeting when you reach out, because, I told a guy once, I was like, hey man, let's get together. I want to have breakfast. I want to hear what's going on in your life. And like, he's expecting like, I want to have a serious meeting and correct him on something. And I genuinely was like, we haven't hung out.
You're like, what are you getting for breakfast?
Yeah. I was like, I see you at church. We just haven't hung out. And so anyways, I told her we need to talk, and we decided to go get lunch, and we were in La Quinta.
I'm thinking all is well.
Yeah, all is well. And we went to
literally, hang on,
Chipotle.
The day before, when we were on Valentine's Day, we had dinner with like a bunch of couple friends.
We did.
And I remember talking about like us getting married and us,
oh yeah, it was weird.
So there's this reality too. Okay, keep going. So you had just told me this the day before.
Yeah, so I had really, I wouldn't want to say hyped up, but it was like a lot of like
emotions.
Yeah, a lot of like, yeah, this is it. And then just that night I was like, I don't know if this is it. It was weird. And that's again a sign of immaturity, is you say things you don't truly mean. And you say them because you're worried about the moment than you are what you're actually processing.
Or that you are about like your words actually being
Right.
held up, like you holding to your word.
Yeah. So anyway, so we meet at Chipotle, and we get in line and we order like everything's normal. And then
Totally greeted me like normal and
yeah,
everything.
just hey, glad to see you,
and kiss from your side.
yeah, and she's thinking like, what are we going to talk about? Like, what's going on? You know, are we planning our wedding already?
A fool. I was
Yeah.
a fool.
And I don't even remember how I started it, but it was just
You didn't
like,
start it very well.
yeah, what did I say?
You just said, so, you know, this thing that we have going, I just don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah, and it was like 30 seconds of me starting to talk. That Randy
And your head was down and you were unfolding your
I was unfolding my
quesadillas, your taco,
burrito,
whatever.
and Randy had her burrito, and like 30 seconds in, she just like stood up and walked out. And I don't remember what you had said when you walked out, but
I didn't say anything.
yeah, it was
I
just
just didn't need to stay there.
yeah, it was bad. I mean, I knew you were mad because you left your burrito, and
Pretty sure I threw it away.
well,
So that makes it even worse.
that makes
I
it
threw
even
away
worse.
a perfect
Yeah,
meal.
yeah, you must have been hurt, girl.
I was hurt, dog. I was
Throw it
hurting.
away, a perfectly good burrito.
Yeah, you said that, and I got up and I just walked out and went to my car, and
Yep.
you tried to follow me out.
Yeah, I
there.
remember walking up to the
You
car.
had this add-on to the story that did not
No,
happen.
yeah, I just remember looking through the window and being like, you know, I'm sorry, or like, I forget what I was saying as you're driving away, but you just completely ignoring me and just
Yeah.
left. And then it was very awkward for at least like the next 6 months.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah, because like I was leading the youth ministry, and that was one of the reasons why I broke up with her. I was like, you know, I'm leading youth now. I got to focus on me and God. What's your thoughts on that?
Pulling the God card that's going to be declined.
The
'cause
God
there's
card.
No more credit left on there for you.
What's your thoughts on the God card?
Well, I think there's a few things.
Because there's
Let's
a
back
valid
up
reason
little bit.
people break up.
Yeah. Let me back up a little bit. One, you told me we were like, didn't know if it was going to work out. And I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm done. I don't need to hear the rest of this. I knew we were going to have to follow up on it, but I also knew my like emotional limit. Like I can't handle a breakup in a public space where like everybody's there. And like I'm walking in like so in love with this guy that just told me we're going to get married. And the next day he's breaking up with me. There was like 5,000 million thoughts in my head that I was like, I can't process here. And at that time, I was a lot more I had a much shorter fuse. So I feel like I was just going to pop off and be like,
Yeah.
this, and that, which was not good either. So it was a part of my self-control and boundaries for myself to get in the car and just leave. And my dad also told me, like, if someone doesn't want to be with you, don't make them convince you why they don't want to be with you. They don't want to be with you. Take their word and leave.
It's good.
Like, take the truth of what they give you and let that be done.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to waste time with people who don't want to spend time with you. So that was really resonating in my head as I was driving out of that Best Buy parking lot.
Yeah, well.
But then, yeah, you told me the whole God thing, and it was just like, it just felt like a cop out.
Yeah.
Like I understand, and I think that's a valid reason. Like if I'm not progressing you towards God, if my life is
if
not
I'm
pushing
distracting you from
yeah.
God, yeah, if I'm against God, if I'm not in the same line,
If I'm a distraction for you, I don't deserve to be with you. Me and any person that's distracting another human being from Christ, I don't have.
Yeah.
I'm not that of value to be worth your eternity. But I had felt like everything we had ever been about and everything that I've ever imparted into your life up until this point of dating was pushing you towards your destiny. So I was like, what the heck? So I think the God card is valid if you're distracted, if you are less of a follower of Jesus because of this person. Get out now. Like do the thing, have the breakup, do your, whatever you need to do. But I hate when it's used in such an invalid way because then it places blame on God that's not his. You're responsible for your lack of ability to properly set expectations. You're responsible for your inability to commit. You're responsible for the things that you set up here that you didn't live out, not God.
Yeah, and we can't just, because we don't want to be in a relationship, use God as a way to get out of not confronting what's going on.
Right. And I think
what I mean?
that also causes people in breakups to have such a resentment towards God because they feel like it's God's fault that they're not with the person that they thought they were going to be with, when in all reality, it's the person's fault
yeah.
that didn't,
Yeah.
that is placing blame on somebody that isn't theirs.
Yeah. You just don't want to confront your true feelings and possibly hurt somebody. And one of the best things I heard about that was like, especially in the middle of a breakup, I would rather hurt somebody for being honest than harm them in the long run for being dishonest. And it's, I'd rather hurt somebody's feelings for being upfront and saying, hey, here's what's going on. I'm sorry, but this is what it is. And it's going to hurt than me just lie and lead you on, and then one day also have a second girlfriend, and then eventually harm you that does more damage later.
Yeah.
And that's just something that, again, as you get more mature in dating and in relationships and really just carry relational intelligence, like you start understanding people, you don't lead people on just because you don't know how to confront something. Like if you don't confront it, you won't conquer it. And so if you just allow dysfunction and just keep leading on, even though you're not interested, it's going to harm you in the long run more than it helps.
Yeah. I've seen it in so many of my close friends who are like dating in serious relationships and then just broken up with one day. And it was like, oh, because God told me. There's got to be some validity to that, man. Or you got to just say, I'm dysfunctional. I overcommitted. I look at you differently now than I did the day I met you. And I have some things I need to deal with. I just think too, when we can take ownership of whatever feelings we have, there is so much more freedom for everybody.
Yeah.
Because then you have girls, and I can only speak for my experience as a woman, but like you have girls looking for closure and trying to understand things and asking God and spending hours in prayer to figure out what they got wrong when it's like, or what God was doing that like, it feels like, I felt like God was playing me. He like stabbed me in the back. Like you told me this was my husband and now you tell him to break up with me.
Yeah.
So then I'm spending hours wondering why God did this to me instead of realizing, no. This has nothing to do with God. This is everything that has to do with, like you said, the ability to articulate what you were actually feeling in that
right.
time.
And don't, put God on the hook there because again, you don't know how to confront it. It's like some people will come to God and be like, why'd you let me down? Like I keep putting my life into this person and they're not putting it back. Why aren't they putting it back? And sometimes God is like, I wish you would just stop putting your life into this person. They're not ready.
To me.
Yeah. What you're giving to them should be coming to me.
Yeah.
And, when God is first on the list or, he's in the background of something, it easily just becomes like, who's going to take his place? But if the Lord is center in your pursuit of a relationship, every decision you make, even down to how you pursue a woman, changes because he's central. And so you're not distracting me from him. If anything, you're going to complement my relationship with him. Yeah. And you're going to only add value so that I can pursue him.
Yeah.
And the pressure to get married in Christian dating, we focus too much on that instead of the pressure of, does this person make me want to get closer to Jesus? You know what I mean? If you're dating and you're a Christian, it's important to think about marriage. I get it. But you should be thinking about what does their life and lifestyle do to my relationship with God now?
Yeah. And there's this, and we're concerned, like you said, there's this hyper focus on getting married instead of a hyper focus on building the fruit of the Spirit and self-control.
Yeah.
So many times people just cross the threshold because it's like, I can't not have sex.
I want to get married because I want to have sex. And it's like, well, the Bible says practice self-control. What do you do with that?
Yeah. So, and I think too, our breakup forced me to unearth a lot of stuff in me, like to be able to find significance and value and love and all of these other things back in Christ. Because for a second it was just like, oh my gosh, you're everything that I wanted. You're everything you're everything this, you're everything this. And it's like, at no point should you ever be everything for me.
Yeah, that language is reserved for Jesus. Like even the idea of like, my wife is my everything. It's like, I get the sentiment, but if something happens, do you lose everything? Or if you hit a season in life where it's not as vibrant as other seasons, do you feel off? And we've learned the hard way, I think, our validation has to come from God before it comes from each other.
Yeah.
For sure. And I want to only add on to and confirm what God says about my wife, not write my own story about her. Yeah, I love you. I'm glad it worked out with us.
Get out of here.
Yes, we go 6 months broken up, but we eventually kind of rekindled a friendship.
Yeah, so let's talk about the breakup period, how that went.
Yeah, well, obviously we were serving in youth together, so you were still showing up to serve. You were there
still
on the
very
team.
much in the same church. You were on staff now.
Yeah, I was working for the church, and all the other pastors at this church have seen Randy grow up her whole life. Like they've known her since she was a baby almost. Like, so they're all looking at me like, what's up with you and Randy?
It was like this.
It was a weird
Team
tension.
Switzerland.
Yeah, it was like pick your side. I remember Pastor Mike even bringing me outside one time and just like checking me.
Thank you,
and
Uncle
being
Mike.
like, she's a daughter of the house.
Thank you, Unc.
And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't like her. And he's like, well, she's a daughter of the house. And if you hurt her, and I'm like, oh, I might have already. She left the burrito behind, Uncle Mike. Like, she is hurt. She left the burrito. And it was an awkward couple months for sure.
How do you, what advice do you have to people that are breaking up, know they're not supposed to be together, but have to still coexist?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the situation. So if like for me to break up with you,
say there's a couple going to the same church and there's only one service and there's only one team they serve on or whatever, how would you?
Well, it has a lot to do with the situation. So like if I were to break up with you, obviously my posture towards you is different than if you were the one to break up with me and I have to see you.
Right.
Because if I didn't get what I wanted and I see you, I'm probably reminded of that. I'm sad. I get depressed. I get angry. If I'm the one that broke up with you, I'm like awkward and I'm like, okay, don't say anything that would make her upset. Don't be sarcastic. And I remember at times still like just saying the wrong thing and you getting upset and just, we had to rekindle our friendship.
We did.
And we would talk to each other. I remember you were talking to me about guys and I would talk to you about girls.
That was not that was way later.
Yeah, but that was a part of that 6 month period. Like we eventually rekindled it to the point where, you know, you were talking to me about guys and I just remember being like, okay. And I was bothered, but I was like, I guess this is how it goes, you know? And yeah, I thought we definitely did better at the end of those 6 months.
Well, it was longer. It was like we broke up in February. We didn't get back together till like the end of November.
Yeah.
So it was like, felt like 10 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beginning was super awkward, super uncomfortable, super resentful. I was
imagine
just,
going to church
bitter.
when like there's two leaders that are like this. I mean, these poor kids are.
Oh my gosh.
We're in youth ministry. We're like, you need to follow Jesus, and they're looking at us like, what is up with y'all?
Yeah, there were weeks I was just like, I'm not serving in there. I can't do this. But I had to lead worship every Sunday, and there were Sundays you closed the set that I was finishing the song on, and it was just like we had to still.
Like, I hate you.
Get out of here. Your mic isn't on. But yeah, it was just like awkward moments like that. Like you said, then we started to rebuild our friendship. I really want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because again, we had only ever kissed each other.
Sure.
And didn't really go very far after that. You know what I mean? It was never anything else. So it wasn't like we were trying to coexist and make friends again, even though we slept with each other a bunch of times, because that always adds another element.
Yeah, because we didn't sleep with each other.
So the way that we really started to make friends again or like become friends again was in a group setting. All of our friends at this point, you had been inducted into the circle of friends. And so, which is also another thing, because like what happens when you have the same friend group and you break up?
Yeah, it's like Friends again. It's like, you know, Ross and Rachel. Everyone got to pick a side.
Yeah,
it's just awkward.
It was awkward. So we had the same friend group at that time. We were hanging out with the same people all the time. So it was like, if we're all going to hang out, I'm going to have to see him and I'm going to have to be around him. So I just really, it took months of me like settling in my heart that we weren't going to be together. And it was like, we're done. Then I remember like taking on the idea of like, okay, let me go on a date with somebody. Let me just talk to somebody and see what happens. And who knows where we'll go from there. And I went on the date or I just started talking to this guy or whatever. And I remember telling you, because you were the youth pastor, and you asked me.
I was like, I need to know.
Yeah, you did that.
Well, that was because I obviously loved it.
Leadership.
That's because I still liked you, obviously. Like, I was still trying to find out what's up.
I didn't know that you liked me still.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's awkward when you break up with somebody and you have the same friend group.
Yeah.
Because people naturally want to choose sides. And I think if that's the case, there just has to be a lot of communication from those two individuals on what this is going to look like.
Yeah. And we were just like, dude, let's not do all that.
Yeah. I thought we were pretty civil in the sense that we knew that, okay, we're going to serve together. We're still going to see each other. We can do this.
Yep. So then I was dating somebody.
Yep.
Or I started talking to somebody. I wasn't even really dating. And you asked me, have you guys kissed?
Yeah. And you were like, I'm not going to tell you that. And I was like, I need to know. Like, what's up? You know?
And I said, yes. And then you were like.
Yeah, that bothered me. And I think that's the true test of your immaturity is when you say, I don't want to be with you. And then that person goes and be with somebody else. It's like, you really did want to be with them, huh? You know?
And then I remember you going on a few dates too.
Yeah.
And me being super bitter about it.
Yeah.
Because I was not over you. And then I remember like the end of August came around and I literally remember like sowing a seed and like giving because I was like still so hung up, still so heartbroken, still so confused. And like finally just saying like, okay, God, I'm just giving him back to you. And it's like, I'm not going to have my way in this. I'm not going to win. Like I don't want to win if that means it's out of your will and like all that. And I just remember like literally sowing. Wasn't anything major, but I just remember giving and being like needed to be set free from this like I was sprung, dog. I was. And then I think that's when we really started to become like really good friends.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I had kind of let it go.
There was a lot of closure and clarity there because I think we had said what we needed to say. And I think we made clear what the expectation was in the friendship. Like most people have unhealthy friendships, even with exes, because the expectations are never made clear. And I remember both talking about, okay, you know, we're free to talk to other people and we're going to serve together. And we were talking through what it would look like if we were going to have a relationship. I don't really advise people that date to stay friends after.
I don't see the need.
Yeah, it's just
oh my
like as hard as it was for us, like I know it ended up working out, but sometimes I think we stay friends after we break up in hopes it'll work out. And that's 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out. And we're like, well, I still want you around. You know, I still want you around. If things are not going to work out.
Well, if I don't figure out something with someone else, then you're still my friend. I can just kind of pick up where we left off, and you can be the secondary option if nothing else works.
Yeah, and deep down, that's not how you value somebody.
Yeah, and I just think too, it hooks you to a history of sexual intimacy, whether that's just kissing or all this other stuff, and it keeps you hooked onto that. And the devil's just waiting for you to reach out to them, waiting for you to have them over, waiting for you to have a conversation, waiting for you to interact, and that one weird eye contact happens again, and then it just sparks this whole thing again, and you find yourself in this pattern. So it's like, shut the door on all of the opportunities that the enemy has. Like, make him put in work if he's going to get you to fall. Don't let it just be because you can't stop being friends with this ex that you don't even really like anymore.
Block their number. It's not this hard. Like, just shut the thing down. Yeah. I mean, ultimately it ended up working out. And to this day, a lot of people use the breakup story on us and say, well, I'm going to break up with her and maybe it'll be like you and Pastor Randy and we'll end up together. And I always said, you know, each relationship's unique. Just because a story goes one way doesn't mean it's the end all for everybody. But I remember it was, we were doing Christmas outreach and really just having a moment that night, realizing like how much I still loved you and how much I really did want to be with you. And it was a reminder that the breakup was more so from me, myself, not embracing what God was doing versus something wrong with you, you know? And most people react in a relationship because they don't know how to confront their own selves and they put it on their partner and just say, it's your fault, then I'm done. Instead of just saying, no, I probably need to own some growing.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was so transformative for both of us. So, I mean, again, if you're listening to this and you're broken up with your partner, don't assume the same ending.
Yeah, we're going to end up together again in Christmas outreach.
Yeah, because it's just, you never know what's going to happen.
No.
But yeah, I think breakups are so awkward.
No,
and they're so not fun.
So your interruption, you know, from your normal way of life. Most people struggle with breakups. I don't know most people. I don't even know a number to stat, but just like, I think some people, they struggle in a breakup because the new way of life is more of a shock than it is they actually miss the person they were with. And they're struggling. Yeah, they're struggling just not to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And they're saying like, oh, I just missed them so much. And it's more like you miss the idea of having a boyfriend. You miss having someone that at any moment you could reach out to and they're going to pick up. You know, you miss having to put yourself out there. You know, now you got to go put yourself out there. You miss not having to.
Well, I think it's facing who you actually are without any significance or affirmation or encouragement coming from someone that sees you in a way that no one else in the room sees you.
Yes.
Like, there's that reality too. Like, I always ask people when I'm sitting with a girl who's like going through a breakup or whatever, when's the last time you were single and how long have you been single? Like, what's the longest period of time you've ever been single? Of course, like your adolescent years, but like as an adult, as you learn yourself, like what's the longest time you've been single? 2 months.
Yeah. Some people have to go from relationship to relationship.
It's like, there's no judgment on that. There's just like, you are so valuable. You're so worth learning about who you are and what God has for your own personal life, that jumping from person to person always attaches you, your value, your everything to someone else. Like, and so I think there is this beauty in singleness. And I saw somebody say this again on social media too, that was like, that season of singleness is so unique because you don't have any obligation to be checking in with somebody, following up on somebody, all these things like that, that all of that space is freed up for growing your relationship with Christ. I think that's why he assigned singleness, so that you can learn him before you have to go learn someone else. So you can grow and become familiar with his voice more than you're familiar with the person you're going to probably live with for the next 40 to 60 years.
Christian singleness shouldn't just be more freedom to do what you want. Christian singleness is more deep commitment to Jesus and more time for him and more focus for him, and your heart isn't going back and forth from things, it can fully lock into him.
Yeah.
So that when the right person does come, you're aware who you are. You know what's important, and that person adds to what God's already doing. You know what I mean? And that's what I think we've really learned. Like our hope for our relationship is that we would complement the call of God on each other. And what he's called you to, I want to come alongside that and support that and help balance that out. What he's called me to, I want you to come alongside that and support that and balance that out. And the quicker we can embrace who we are, the quicker we can move forward together to what God's called us to, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the breakup story, my friends. It's a real one.
It is a real one.
It really happened. Episode 13 is a short one, but we appreciate everyone that's watching. Please leave a comment below about something. Just comment somewhere because it helps this video get some traction. And we are recording with the Heathers. I almost wanted to call the podcast with the Heathers. Like, welcome to Podcast with the Heathers. But then, I don't know. That's how I do things.
Paint.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, though. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And we'll be back another time with the cruise story.
The cruise story.
Yeah, we're still healing from that one.
Get out of here.
But we love you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on With the Heathers.
Peace.
Good night.
Night, Dada.
Great.
Night, Dada.